We're the dudes of horror. We're back. We just saw the first Purge in the theater. That's the fourth movie in the franchise, but it's a prequel, judging by the title, the first Purge. We have I don't know, mixed ideas, good things, bad things about the movie, but we're gonna do non-spoilers at the beginning and then go into spoilers, but we'll give a spoiler warning. But overall, I actually thought this was a good movie, but there were just constant little things in the scenes. There were just constant things coming up that I felt were like Hollywood. Okay, I'm watching a movie right now, and these are actors that weren't believable. Because the thing about the Purge movies is I always want to see one where it's rooted in reality.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, I'm Damien.
I'm Toots.
Worm Boy.
Yeah.
We're here, guys.
Yeah.
We're here too, so
We forgot to do the intros.
Yeah, but that's okay.
I want to see a Purge movie that seems like it's actually rooted in reality.
Directed by Christopher Nolan.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
and I said that. I actually said that to my wife on the way home.
Christoph Waltz will come out in it.
Yeah.
For some reason.
Yeah, the Austrian would play one of the NFFA guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I thought it was very heavy-handed with the political overtones. I was hoping they would be subtle for once in a Purge movie, but it wasn't in this movie, in my opinion. So, but I mean, I thought the writing, there were some creative elements in the writing that I liked, and the movie was written by James DeMonaco, who wrote the other three, but it was directed. It had a new director, Gerard McMurray or Murray or something like that.
Gerard
Yeah,
Butler?
there was a lot of, it did get into the political side and whatnot. Unfortunately, there were no candy bars in this one, so that.
If you've seen the other ones, guys, you would know what he's talking about.
Yeah.
But no, I also agree with that. There was a lot of political things going on in there. I don't think it was the worst one. I think part 3 was the worst one. But this one, I was already expecting it. It's of course, So I didn't let it bother me as much in this one because
I think in this one, the political overtones, I think they weren't as bad as election year. They were still pretty bad.
they were bad, but not as bad as election year.
Yeah.
I think that too.
But I think the main characters and the plot lines with them kind of overshadows all that. So it didn't bother me that much. There were some moments where I was like, "Oh, come on!"
Yeah. It wasn't needed. I got the idea. I was like, did they really need to do this? I was like, no, and we'll get into it right now after the spoiler.
Yeah, some of the imagery, I was like, come on. But like I said, it wasn't enough. It wasn't enough that it bothered me to the point, kind of like with election year. And the funny thing is that I actually did like election year. Not as much as part 2, but I think after hearing you guys talk about it, I'm like, you know what? It's not so good now.
Yeah.
And then after watching this one, I'm like, oh yeah, that's the weakest.
Yeah.
Election year is the weakest, thus far.
And with this one, of course, I was expecting to get more of an explanation, which I did, but I kind of already had the inclination. I mean, I'm sure we all knew it was obvious, the premise of it and why it started and what the population and all this, with the other movies as well. But I think they could have done better in that regards where, they explain a little bit more, with the weapons and, what's a class 4 weapon and below. I don't know. You know what I mean?
I think in this movie they should have at least brought up a couple of instances where they would have to implement those other rules. For instance, emergency services are not available. You cannot kill.
They didn't mention
government officials. Yeah,
but then at the same time, it kind of it was an experiment.
It was an experiment. Yeah, that's why. But I was kind of hoping a little bit that as the movie progressed, or maybe towards the end of the movie,
they hint on it.
We should
do this.
Yeah, where when they're quote analyzing the data, they could say, oh, okay, well, yeah, we need these other rules too. So like the class 4 weaponry, the class 4 and under, like
the
weaponry,
government officials.
No killing the government officials, emergency services are disabled.
Mm-hmm.
So things like that. Like I wish they could have at least hinted to.
Yeah, a hint would have been nice.
Mm-hmm.
Well, like what's like the synopsis of the movie is like the like you guys said, it's an experiment, and it's only happening on Staten Island.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a national like holiday yet. They start calling it. They actually start referring to it as a holiday in the other sequels.
Yeah.
And the one of the we're not doing spoilers yet though, right?
Yeah, I think we should start already. I mean,
unless you want to get into spoilers already.
Yeah, this is spoiler warning, guys. We're gonna start delving right into it. So
yeah,
you're warned. If you haven't seen it and you want to get spoiled, we're gonna spoil you.
That was a very elaborate spoiler warning.
All right.
One of the things that I thought was a missed opportunity was how they were allowing people to leave the island. Like you didn't have to participate. Like they were letting people leave on ferries and then buses. But at a certain point, they would cut off the bridges and the ferries stopped coming back.
Yeah.
But I was like, I think it would have been a lot more, it would have been a lot more brutal and cruel. Like if they were forcing all the residents of Staten Island, like, no, you have to stay. Like you can't voluntarily leave the island. Like you have to stay.
Yeah.
No, I think if they were to have done that, it would have turned off a lot of people. Like, we have to do this? I don't want to do this. But, so I think, in retrospect, it was actually kind of a good idea where they kind of gave people a choice. And then just to see how it goes.
Yeah, that's part of the experiment.
Yeah, and then it's not until once they make it into a, quote, holiday that is like, okay, everyone can participate. You don't have to, but it is going to happen everywhere. As opposed to like, no, you have to go out and you have to participate, or you have to be on the island.
I guess I just mean it would have made the government. It would have made the government way more like totalitarian, like just the tyranny would have been like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
it would have been worse. And
no, you can't leave.
They would be more powerful, and
But no, I see now. When you said that, I'm like, okay, yeah, no, because. At this point, they're still trying to bait the public into buying it as a good idea.
Yeah,
so
they have to look like the good guys right now, and then do their like secret agenda as it goes along. Yeah.
And I'm gonna mention this right now that my favorite character, I mean, it's mixed thoughts with Damien and Utah that about his character where. I don't know why I like his character. His what's his name? Skeletor.
Yeah.
He is over the top, but I'm like, hey, it's the Purge. He can do that. You know what I mean? He's crazy. But I do notice some things. And then now that you guys were mentioning that, it's like he should have just killed the sister, like that. If he's really that crazy,
Yeah.
But at the same time, like maybe he was just torturing the kid,
Yeah.
Or he wanted to draw out the kid so he can kill the kid.
With Skeletor, I didn't mind Skeletor because they established from the beginning, before the Purge even happens, that he is crazy. That he's probably on drugs and he's crazy.
Yeah.
It's not like he was a businessman in a nice suit and tie and then he becomes like how Skeletor is. That would have been bullshit.
He's been crazy from the start.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why it didn't bother me.
And they don't really mention what it is, so it's like, well... It could be anything.
Yeah.
We'll see what I was talking about earlier before we went into spoilers about the interesting aspects in the writing. The Skeletor character immediately takes us into one of the aspects that I thought was interesting was how they actually have like therapists or psychiatrists actually evaluating and interviewing people like that they're gonna actually that the NFFA is actually gonna pay to participate in the Purge.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, that's creepy. Like that's like some 1984 like New World Order shit.
Yeah.
Like that was good. Like, but I just I don't know. I thought what we were talking about, how you had mentioned Christopher Nolan earlier.
Yeah.
And I was talking with my wife on the way home from the theater. Was like, I thought that his character could have been interesting, but I just thought that, and it might not be the actor. Like, he might have been given the direction, but I thought he was like overacting. Like to the point where sometimes it didn't seem like realistic.
Real. Yeah, and I do agree in that.
But I said if he had been more like the way Heath Ledger portrayed the Joker in The Dark Knight, because obviously he was the character that's like, he doesn't want to just, you know, he doesn't want to just shoot somebody from a rooftop. He wants to savor the kill. Like, he's a sociopath.
Yeah, he wants to, you know, get you with a knife instead of a gun.
It would have been cool if you know, the psychologists were evaluating him and everybody, and then well, no, but
yes,
yeah, that's what I wasn't thinking. But I was thinking that you know, at some point some of the psychologists are like, well, I don't know about him. You know, he's a little too unstable. Like, well, let's put him in there. You know, let's see what happens if we put. Like, okay, we'll study him as well as like the Purge in general. You know,
but see the ATM kill, his first kill, which is the first murder in the movie. That one was good. I was like, that's good. He just walked right up to the guy and just stabbed the guy right in the chest.
Yeah. Once he started talking, I was just like
he didn't give some Hollywood villain speech, or he just walked right up, which is how it would actually happen, because you can't, you know, while he has to have an upper hand on the guy, he has to have the element of surprise.
And you know what I thought was ironic? Mentioning him, you know how he preferred to use like a knife, and he was trying to get the kid. I was like, and the kid had a poster of Michael Myers, and I was like, hey, isn't that ironic? Like, he's being chased by this guy that wields a knife and it prefers to use a knife to kill, and then the kid is running away from him because he's trying to kill him with a knife, and I'm assuming he's a fan of Michael Myers.
I could see I could see the coincidence there.
It's funny,
or you might have actually. You might have actually like found a little subtle like wraparound reference there. Like, maybe that was intentional, like, because of what you just said.
They did show that trailer before the movie. The Halloween one.
So maybe someone's getting paid somewhere,
or it's probably from Platinum Dunes.
Oh God!
And that's probably the company that produced the movie, or, you know, and then let's throw that poster in there.
But the thing I did really enjoy was the character building in this one from all the other movies. I mean, the other ones, they have some, like, Part 3 didn't really have much, other than, you know, the one that came out in Part 2. I forgot his name. But the
Sergeant?
The Sergeant, yeah. But in this one, like, I actually get connected with almost all the characters, you know, even with Skeletor. I'm like, hey, I wonder what's gonna happen to him, you know?
Yeah, like,
I wonder what's gonna happen to the boy. I wonder what's gonna happen to the gangster and you know, the sister. The one I really didn't care so much about was what's his name? Isaiah. But I still did care though a little bit.
No, the ones that I really didn't care for, because they didn't really come out a whole lot in the movie, was and this is what they call themselves, like the Three Stooges, like jokingly they call themselves that.
That was funny. Yeah.
It was funny. It was like a funny moment.
That was appropriate.
Yeah, but they're very. I mean, they were just one-dimensional. They were just there for a little bit, so I wasn't really invested in them. But I was really invested with the main characters.
Yeah.
And
what was his name? The gangster guy?
Dimitri.
Yeah. I feel bad for him because like here he is, you know, doing all this selling dope, and you know he's like, we gotta stay alive because if you stay alive and you don't get hurt, we get money. You know, that's all the business part. But then when the purge actually happens, he's like, shit, like I have to do something. I have to help my community. So he kind of breaks that other side.
His character arc was. It was a little bit predictable, but I still liked it. I liked how it progressed.
Yeah, I liked the way it progressed.
Well, it was because when the Naya character has the big conversation with him about, like, you know, you used to be a morally upright kind of person, and I want that person back. Like, it kind of was a giveaway.
Yeah, it ignited his fire.
He's gonna, like, but I don't know. That's the other thing I didn't like. Like, they made the they made like the Scarface character, the Nino Brown character, like
it was more like Nino Brown.
The biggest drug lord kingpin on Staten Island. Like they made him the main hero of the movie. Like
that should have been done.
I was like, I don't know.
I didn't mind that. I actually didn't mind that. Because, and that's why I said like it was a little predictable, but I still enjoyed that character arc where you would have pictured him. Because normally in any other type of movie, you would have seen that character like, oh, we're gonna have our defenses here, and all he would do is just protect his money and kind of have his men be expendable. But they didn't. He actually kind of grew from that and actually became a hero, or if you want to call him an anti-hero, out of it. So it was like, oh, like this guy, unexpectedly, became a hero.
And the thing I felt the worst for him was when it was. I didn't like the scene, but I mean when they killed like almost all except for one that was still kind of dying.
Mm-hmm.
With the drones. I'm like, really? That's how they killed
them? Yeah, the drones were bullshit.
I was like, they should have at least left some of them alive,
Mm-hmm.
Kind of still went inside.
That was what we were talking about earlier.
That was just like a cop out.
No, but I mean his badass assassin, like right hand woman character,
Mm-hmm.
Blaze, or what was her name?
I think it was Blaze.
I think it was Blaze.
Blaze, like they set her up as like this badass, like that can handle herself, like she can do hand to hand combat. She can shoot guns well.
Mm-hmm.
So I was expecting all throughout the movie, like there's gonna be a kick-ass action scene with this character, and I want to see it.
I wanted to see
and
her.
then she just gets killed off camera by a drone, like just gets shot.
That was shit.
And I was just like,
shitty.
what was that? Like,
No, I'm gonna say that.
Yeah.
I know what you're gonna say.
All right.
And sorry, Damien, to interrupt, but I just need to say that I think the best thing they should have done with that character was have her fight, but fight with Skeletor. That would have been awesome. I think.
Actually, I was gonna say if she had to die during the drone scene, it would have been at least cool to see her take out a few of the drones, and then get just riddled with bullets, and then instead of just dying right away, like she's trying to survive, and then just.
But see, I was waiting for a scene where she single-handedly takes out 10 to 12. Of
that would have been awesome.
Of the NFFA, assassins that were sent into the island.
She's like the top
before one, and then she gets killed, maybe survives. I don't know.
And that's why I said if she had to die during the drone scene, it would have been cool if she could have taken out a few of those drones.
But even then, I think that would have been a waste of the character.
It is. It is a waste. It would have been cool if she went out in a blaze of glory.
I thought she was a red herring. I was I'm waiting for this badass scene with this character because they set her up as the stoic, silent, badass, the kingpin's,
right-hand man,
lead assassin, protector, bodyguard, whatever.
Yeah, it would have been cool. It would have been awesome if they went that route.
And I'm like, she just dies from a headshot by a drone. I was
off camera, yeah.
Yeah, and I was like, what? I don't know.
And that other guy lives and he doesn't do anything.
Or even if they wanted to do the cliche route where maybe she grabbed the quote C4 explosive and then kind of runs with it because the remote gets jammed and then it doesn't work, so she's and then you hear her speak for she spoke in the movie a little bit, very little, but she's like, I got this, and then goes and then blows up, or manages to lure the mercenaries away to another building or one of the other floors, and then
And a part of the was she a psychologist, the one working with the FFA?
Marissa Tomei.
Yeah.
A psychologist? Psychiatrist or
psychologist. Yeah.
What happened with her? I was when he was more saying well, we need to do something because nothing's happening, and I knew already. I was he's probably gonna.
Yeah.
He probably had Plan B, of course, always. And then he does it, and she starts kind of noticing, and then the part I didn't like about that was where she's just let go and she's just shot, and that's it. I would have liked it better for her to survive. Let her go, but put her outside in the purge, and she'll be part of the experiment too.
Yeah, and that's what I was saying. Like it would have been cool if you see them like throw her out from a van, and that NFFA guy was there, and then she's like, "Oh, I don't have any weapons. What am I supposed to do?" Well, you're a scientist. Figure it out, stupid.
Yeah,
figure it out, bitch.
You're just another statistic, or
something cheesy.
You're good for research.
Well, think of yourself as a data point or some shit.
Yeah.
And then, but then, like, let's say she's dying towards the end, but she makes it back to Staten Island.
Yeah.
Kills him, and then she dies, and then that's when they say, okay, well, all right, let's implement this rule that government officials are not allowed to get killed.
Yeah.
I didn't really like that her character. I wanted to see Marissa Tomei as a heartless villain. I didn't like that she had like a change of heart where she did the whole thing like, I was wrong and this is wrong. Like, you can't do this. Like, when she discovers that the NFFA is because like one of the big plot twists in the movie is like they start sending like highly trained mercenaries into Staten Island disguised as citizens because not enough people are participating in like the murder aspect of the purge. So her character kind of like has the like I didn't like that. I wanted her to be like a heartless villain that was just like didn't care about any of the people dying. Like
and what they try to do like with that heartless villain character was with the other guy, but he didn't convince me.
I think right? what would have made him a bigger heel is that if like let's say what Damien said, like she's like, yeah, that's right, we're helping because America. And then at some point he's kind of bullshitting her too, like yeah, you're doing our country a great service. Really? Yeah, like she's getting into it, but then he still somehow kills her at the end.
See, that'll set him up to
for whatever reason.
Yeah. Like he's like, well, we don't really need you anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
And then he just
Yeah.
But I don't know. It was, and the thing I don't know. Like I'm pretty sure like there'll be people that disagree with me, but I did not like the humor of the Dolores character.
I didn't like it.
I didn't think it took me out of the movie, man. Like I'm being honest, like it took to me. It was like we were saying. I was like, that is too Hollywood. Like nobody would be acting like that if they were in a situation like that where they're under siege in their apartment building.
Yeah.
And they're desperately trying to find anything to, wedge against the door, and they're watching all these like government assassins coming in through every exit in the building. Like, no one would be making jokes like that.
No.
Yeah,
I was like, this is a movie right now, and the tone is all off.
Like, I thought it was appropriate in the church before everything started.
Yeah.
But then after that, I was like, okay, like, get serious now. Like, I didn't think she would survive by herself,
Yeah.
And they didn't even show her at least go out there and try to make it. How did she make it?
virtually unscathed.
Yeah, she didn't have no blood. She looked the same.
Yeah, and I mean... Unless it would have been one of those where, let's say, like some of the mercenaries die, and then she kind of cracks a joke that's kind of awkward, kind of like what you said, Damien, is kind of awkward.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then kind of like laughs nervously, and then it kind of breaks the tension a bit.
Yeah.
See,
yeah.
Then it would have fit the tone.
Yeah.
But I was like, this is like she's in a different movie right now. Like I was like,
I thought I was. Seen a Tyler Perry movie when she came out. Like maybe she needs to go and do something with him.
Yeah, but I mean, but it's like
one of his comedies.
But I agree with you. Like when they're all holed up in the church, and they're trying to because they set up the church as kind of like a safe haven.
Mm-hmm.
Like everybody can come in here and nobody's gonna purge. Like, and we have security watching the door. If she was making jokes like that in there to try to like keep
lighten the mood,
to try to keep people's spirits high, like to try then it worked. But like later on in the movie, like when all hell has broken loose on the island and there's violence everywhere, I was like, that just doesn't work anymore. Like it didn't fit the tone of the movie. Like
and I'm gonna mention this also. One thing that I didn't like, or one of the few things that I didn't like, was the CG blood, because Like I kind of forgave the other movies with the CG blood because you could tell like at least some of it was, but with this one especially, like as we discussed before, we started recording the when the gangsters like the group shows up and then does the tear gas or the smoke bombs or whatever, and then like they start killing the mercenaries. And then but you can obviously see it's CG blood. Like it's so blatant that took me out of the movie. I was like, come on, what the hell? Yeah.
You know, and that really didn't bother me. Maybe because I just didn't pay too much attention to it. Maybe if I see it again, I'll probably be like, okay, I see what you mean.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think it bothered me as much because I'm like, oh, it's a kill. Of course, it's gonna be CG or fake blood or whatever. So I was just more concerned with the actual like shit. Like, are they guys actually gonna be able to kill all these trained mercenaries? And they were, because with the knife, what's her name? The right hand woman,
Blaze.
Blaze gets some of them in the neck, and I was like, damn, she is skilled, you know.
We'll see that.
And that's the only part where she actually does that, right?
Yeah. No, the smoke bomb scene where they rescue the Three Stooges character.
Yeah.
Well, like you brought up like the technical aspects. So some of the problems I had was I definitely agree with you. Some of the CGI blood, but some of the squibs, the blood, like the practical blood, that looked really good.
Yeah.
Like that was good. Like I'm gonna give props to that. But like a lot of the action scenes, like that one. When the Three Stooges characters are like under siege, but they're like outgunned, literally outgunned, because they've got like handguns and shotguns, but the government assassins that are outside like shooting at them, they've got like all these like
fucking
automatic assault rifles and like, but like the action scenes were like a lot of close-ups, a lot of quick cuts. Where it's like, what's going on? Like you can't really.
Yeah, that was kind of bothering me a bit too.
And
it was too much shaky cam to the point where you're like, okay, what's happening here?
Like the scene where we were talking about earlier, where Isaiah rescues his sister, the Naya character from Skeletor, and they have like a brief little like scuffle, and there was too much like close-ups and quick cuts and shaky cam.
Yeah.
I was like, what's happening right now? Like,
and then I think he left something on his back, right?
I'm not sure.
Like,
that's the thing.
I really
wasn't sure.
I thought he stabbed him in the back and left whatever he had in his hand.
Yeah.
Right? Or
yeah.
No?
Yeah, he stabbed him with something. I just didn't know what.
He stabbed Skeletor in the back.
Would have been better there. He would have just thrown the knife or whatever he had and, got him and be like, and then that gives her enough time.
But then it wouldn't have been believable.
But what I mean is, for an action scene, it just wasn't shot well. And a lot of the action scenes weren't shot well.
She should have just escaped, That would have been better.
And I noticed it all throughout the movie, but especially the final sequence where Dimitri walks into the tenement building to save him.
Yeah.
There were a horrendous amount of Dutch angles. Like every other shot was a Dutch angle, and I was like, I started watching the movie like with my head tilted, like. What's with the Dutch angles?
Battlefield Earth, yeah.
Yeah, like every other shot was, and I have to say, like this, just for fun, it didn't bother me at all. But I was like, when Dimitri went into that building, it suddenly became Die Hard.
Yeah.
I was like,
and you know what? They probably did it on purpose.
Well, he actually strips down to a wife beater like John McClane.
Yeah.
And he has like the gun wrapped around his chest, like just like John McClane.
And then he has that bomb also.
And he gets injured and
and the guy's even the leader of the government assassins that are in the building.
He's like Russian or what
no, but he actually
he's American. Yeah.
When Dimitri starts like picking off all the assassins that are in the building, one of the guys actually gets on the radio and he's like, "We have a problem, sir." And I was thinking of the Ellis character in Die Hard. Like, you weren't expecting a poison pill to be running around the building. I was like, this is Die Hard right now. Like,
I was actually thinking of the part where it's like, they're using the artillery on us. Like, you idiot! It's not the police.
No, but like It's a high rise building. There's a bunch of hostages up on the top floor, and this one man
Yeah.
and this one man army is trying to rescue them from all these
We should just
Successfully.
We should.
Yeah.
You know what we should do? We should put that scene. Well, once it comes.
Well,
out,
somewhat successfully. Everybody else
put
died.
the other scene and then see how that works.
Yeah, and like a frame by frame, like shot,
I'm sure someone's gonna do it.
like shot by shot.
But no, I do. Now that you talk about it, I'm like, okay, yeah, you have a point.
Yeah. Now we mentioned the whole political shit, and
Oh,
yeah,
yes.
they do have a scene where, and this is where I was really like kind of almost face palming myself, where you see like cops with masks
Oh, that one.
and they're beating up on an African American, and then you hear "America the Beautiful" playing slowly. Yeah, I was like, that's very heavy-handed. And then the fact that some of the mercenaries were dressed like KKK, and some were dressed like modern, Nazis.
And they were actually shouting. The ones that go in the church,
Mhm.
kill all the people in the church.
Yeah.
When they were driving off, they were actually shouting like "White Power." Did
They
you hear
were?
that?
Yeah.
I didn't hear that
They were.
because I was too hearing the motorcycles. The
And
noise.
it's like again they did it like the bad guys are all like
White.
stuffy white guys.
I honestly thought that gang, or like at first I just thought, oh, they're just the racists and they're just there.
Yeah.
That's what I
That
thought at
would have been
first.
I thought
better.
that too.
Yeah.
That
And
would have
then
been better than they're mercenaries.
and then at some point Dimitri's gang like kind of takes care of them.
Yeah.
But no, then it turns out, they're working for the government.
And that would have been more interesting.
Yeah, because then the government has some people that they're paying to go there to
Mhm.
kill people. But then you also have these other gangs. Like, hey, it's not just the
Yeah.
gang, it's also maybe this other gang,
Yeah, like you see like people you wouldn't normally associate being like,
And then what happened to his rival gang? They didn't even fucking come out,
yeah,
Like, not even a scuffle or anything.
yeah, but
Not
it's
the big warm boy. I'm sorry, because you were like motioning about it.
What?
The big, huge, like obvious, hit at our current president, at Trump,
Oh, yeah.
was. You gotta mention that.
Yeah, there's a scene where the sister, I don't know her name.
Naya.
oh yeah,
She's running. Is when she's first finds out where Isaiah's like, oh, he didn't really leave. He's still there, and so she leaves the church
Mhm.
before he gets shot
Yeah,
up. And then that's where someone is in the sewer. This baby doll guy looking. He's wearing like a doll face or something.
yeah, he wears like a doll head
And he's
as a cover for his mouth and his
Yeah.
nose, like basically part of a
And he
mask.
sets up like a trap there. So he grabs her from the one of her legs, and he's pulling her in. And as he's pulling her in, like he, I guess, going for a private area, and she escapes eventually. But what happens is she says something that our current president, has said, and there's memes about it, and grab her by the,
Grab her by the pussy, pretty much. That's what it is.
yeah.
Yeah.
So,
And then-
but I was like, was that really needed?
Yeah, it was.
See, and it was another moment that took me out of the movie because it seemed out of character for that Naya character.
Yeah.
Like, as she's running away with her back to the camera, she shouts the pussy grabbing motherfucker.
I wouldn't
and I
be
was
sur-
that seemed out of character for
It wasn't.
I wouldn't be surprised if they added it in post, like it was just like ADR, and they just added that.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
what I'm saying. Like
Mhm.
It was probably like that.
it
Yeah.
seemed like that too.
Mhm.
Like and technically, that's what I mean. Like
Mhm.
even technically, the scene wasn't done very well.
Yeah,
And it was another moment that like I was like, I'm watching a movie right now. It took me out of like the.
Yeah. I think they need to remake all these movies.
yeah, and the fact that
They're not bad, but it's just, I'm like, just don't make it a political thing, just
and
make it something else.
and it was kind of funny, and you mentioned it, that when we were walking out of the theater, where the leader of the mercenaries, the ones that were in the building, looked like the Gimp from Pulp Fiction.
He was dressed in this tight, what are they called?
Or like,
I don't know.
yeah,
Leather pants.
or Machine from 8mm. You could say that too. Yeah, except this one had a coat on. He wasn't just like bare chested.
He was pretty much the leader, and I was like, I don't know. I was thinking about him during the movie. I was like, hey, it's the Gimp from Pulp Fiction.
Although, kind of, I'm just imagining right now that whole sequence in the building, and then when Dimitri brings out the bomb and like, I'm gonna try to shoot it, and he can't shoot it because he's injured or whatever. And then Skeletor would come out and pick it up and look what I found. and all the soldiers would have been like, shit.
Yeah.
See, and like that action scene, I actually thought was shot pretty well.
Yeah.
That like I was like, okay, see, that's realistic. Like he's panicking because he has to get in the line of fire to take a shot.
And he gets shot.
So he gets shot, but he actually missed it the first couple of shots.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, and then he jumps out of the way, like just in the nick of time as you see the explosion.
Yeah.
Coming through the door, and he grabs the mattress and pulls it over him and Naya.
Yeah. Now that you mentioned Die Hard, I was honestly thinking, like after the smoke cleared and the rubble and everything, and when they were walking out, I honestly thought that S&M Nazi guy, like the leader or whatever, was gonna come out again, just like what's his face, and then someone else, and then like Isaiah would have been the one to shoot him.
Like Hans or what?
No, like Alexander, Carl.
Oh.
And then like somebody begins screaming, and then it's the little kid that finds a gun and shoots him.
Because you had too much of it.
It's just parallels to Die Hard.
But I mean, honestly, like they showed like that. When they showed that wide shot from behind Dimitri, and he was walking towards the and it's like wide enough that you can see the whole tenement building.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And he's stripped down to a wife beater with the gun strapped around his chest, and walking towards this high building where there's hostages. I was like, I'm watching Die Hard right now. Like,
it's McClane.
Yeah.
I was like, he just turned into John McClane. Like.
Did you hear Christmas music, or did you feel cold, or did you want hot chocolate?
and Reginald Vell Johnson is there, and then he's there to pick up the pieces, like after the purge is over.
For some reason, Steve Urkel shows up.
No, and even when he gets in a fight, I thought it was another good scene because it was realistic when he's in the stairwell.
Oh yeah, that was a good fight.
That was a good fight, yeah.
But it was also shot like a lot of close-ups and quick cuts and like. But
it was a believable fight.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
He was struggle.
He was standing by the door, and they just opened the door, and he's right there, like, oh shit, and they just start getting into the scuffle. Like I was like, see, that's something that would really happen in that situation.
Mm-hmm.
And he loses his gun. And he has to like do hand-to-hand combat with both of them, but they actually roll down the stairs, like where John McClane kills the first guy.
Yeah,
in the first
Carl's brother.
You know what? We should look that up. It's probably somewhere where they're like, yeah. We.
I was like, was that sequence inspired by Die Hard?
I honestly expected him to like roll down the stairs with the mercenary, and then like breaks his neck, and you hear like like that.
He did break his
neck.
He
was strangling him, and you hear the sound effect.
No, but that was afterwards. I'm talking like just the tumble and then like.
I was listening
like in the movie.
Yeah, but I was listening for the the noise that Carl's brother made.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Like I thought. The writing was like again I'll say like the writing was good for this movie. Like I was like, okay, like that's like I buy that, like where they had like all the trailers set up and they had people waiting in line to get interviewed and
for money,
and that they were offering the they were basically they were using like the poor as like lab rats. Like they know they could bait them in, like you said, with money.
And I did like I think you mentioned to us you didn't really like the context, but I kind of liked them. Like, they're like high tech.
No, I'm not saying I didn't like them.
You put them on and they kind of different colors, you know.
I just said they were a little tacky because it's like if they're experimenting, why aren't they all the same color? You know, like the, you know what I mean? If they're experimenting, yeah. And but I didn't mind the context because, like, to me, it seemed like you could actually determine who's gonna purge or who has the potential to purge and who's not.
Yeah.
And it almost became kind of almost like a zombie kind of thing where it's like, okay, who's infected, and then you see them like through the windows, and then you're like, oh, the eyes.
I didn't think of that, but that's actually a good parallel. I hadn't thought of that.
And then I was like, finally, you fucking take him off, Dimitri. Isaiah.
Well, see, I thought like when he first put the contacts on, and they reveal like when he opens his eyes and his eyes are like glowing. I was like, like this is gonna be like a cheap, trick to make the purgers look more creepy.
Well, that's why, yeah.
But then I was like,
no, but it was a camera.
No, but I mean, then I was like, no, I mean, I know like the use was to record the actions of the.
Yeah.
But I was saying like as a film,
Mm-hmm.
I was like, oh, it's like a cheap excuse to like make the purgers look more creepy with the glowing eyes. But then like as you were following Isaiah when he was like wandering around by himself looking for Skeletor, he was still in character, like he was still scared, innocent, lost, like not sure what to do.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So even though his eyes look like that, so then I was like, okay, well, they didn't really.
And I think they did, like you mentioned, like he was scared, doesn't know what he was doing. I think they did put into perspective how an actual person living in that neighborhood would actually feel just like Isaiah. So I feel like they got that well, because you can actually put yourself in his shoes in a way. Not exactly, of course, but you can, like, he helped me see, like, man, like, these people are being taken advantage of, but what else do they have? Like, I think
they did a better job establishing Isaiah in terms of being scared, and then some of the decisions that he makes, like it was all circumstance, as opposed to, let's say, the kid in the first one, where, like, where like he unlocks, he disables the security system, and then it gets into the whole debate of, would you do that, wouldn't you? Yeah. Which would have been interesting. But I thought they did a better job establishing his character here, Isaiah's character, in terms of, why didn't he shoot him? Oh, well, he's scared. Like, he panicked.
Yeah, and he was doing it for money, and, he was tired. And he was like, what else do I have, Mm-hmm. So they set it up pretty well, I think, with his character.
Yeah, and I think... And because I think in the first one, it kind of gets into the whole, like, well, you're safe. You're under security. Why would you pull some shit like that, It gets into that argument. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that. But, one thing that I think you mentioned it to a little bit was, and what really made me notice it was that smoke bomb scene. Where Dimitri and his gang show up to rescue the Three Stooges guys.
Yeah, the three old original gangsters.
Yeah, like I was thinking, like they never explain it, but how does Dimitri and his entire group, like how are they like ninjas? They've all got like these. Yeah. They have all got like expert martial arts.
I was thinking of Blade.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I was thinking about. I was like, how the hell are they mercenaries? Were they in a group before or something?
Well, they mentioned that one character, right? He had said like that he was former military, the one that recognized the tattoos.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so it was like, okay, maybe like my wife was saying, like maybe he taught them all, like.
Maybe.
And then they're
like Black Panther.
Yeah, but that's.
But they never established that, and I was telling my wife, I was like, well, when you're introduced to Dimitri's character at the beginning, he's like working out hardcore, running on the treadmill. So like I think they want to establish like.
And you see, he has a lot of scars.
This guy takes good care of himself.
Yeah. And he's seen battle because he has a lot of scars.
Yeah.
And then she does kind of mention a little bit about his, like, remember she used to do a lot of bad things, and I'm assuming some of those bad things she used to do was when she was together with Dimitri.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that's where he learned how to fight. But then again, like, she didn't really know.
Then they don't.
I don't know.
They don't establish that.
They don't.
That point of how would they know all that?
Because they're doing like fancy ass holds and MMA moves, and like they're slicing.
And these guys are mind you, those guys are mercenaries.
Yeah.
Like, these guys know how to fight.
Yeah,
they're not
mercenaries
just gonna-
would have known.
They're not just gonna be looking at forward. They're gonna be looking around. And
They're gonna
these
have
characters are just, oh, let's go into the building. They don't set up perimeter. I mean,
Right.
come on.
Yeah, the mercenaries behaved. Now that you mention that, Worm Boy, that they behaved almost like amateur to moderate paintball players,
Yeah.
as opposed to like
Or
real
Metal Gear
mercenaries.
Solid.
Or Metal Gear, yeah,
The video game.
like a video game, as opposed to an actual mercenary that would know, hand to hand combat, that would know to cover like their corners and everything.
Of course. It's not like you're saying, oh, we have machine guns. Despite there could be dangers, we don't care. Like, whatever. No, you're going to care. You want to get paid, don't you? You're a mercenary.
Yeah.
You know?
If they mention like, okay, well, yeah, we just found some people, we're just gonna throw them in there.
That would have been more
We just
believable.
paid them a bunch of money. They're just throwing, and then it would have been like, well, it would have been nice to have experience, but
It is what it is,
It's like they established that the government had basically hired like the Expendables, like badass mercs to go in there.
and not the good Expendables.
Yeah, but
They're pretty shitty mercenaries.
that's what I'm saying. Like, but this drug lord and his street gang like take them out with like really fancy like holds and moves, and they're cutting, and they're slicing right into their arteries. Like they know exactly where to stab them.
Like, go for the neck. Go for the neck.
Yeah, they weren't the Expendables. They were like the straight to Blu-ray like Expendables.
But it's like if they knew all that stuff, if they knew how to fight like that, like so sophisticated, like I think they needed to establish it more. So that it would be believable.
I think if they were to have established the mercenaries better, I think it would have been where there would be this slaughter, where like most of like that group, let's say, where the Three Stooges were killed, but they also took out some of Dimitri's guys, and as time progressed, his numbers start to dwindle. Yeah. To the point where maybe Blaze and whatnot were like the last people.
That would be a better story right there.
Yeah.
More believable.
Yeah.
I also think for the mercenaries, I think at least one, I know they were just talking commands, but maybe some of them was like, fuck, what did I get myself into? Like maybe I shouldn't do this kind of thing. And the other was like, fuck it, man, let's do it. We're going to get paid, man, something like that.
Yeah, where they're just like,
like, how much was it again? Oh, okay, all right, I guess so.
Or even one of them is like having doubts, like, well, I don't think we should do this, and just shoots them, and like, oh.
Anybody else have an opinion,
Yeah, exactly.
Anybody else want to negotiate?
Yeah.
Or he could be like, more money for me.
I meant Dimitri and his gang though. Like meant, like if they have those skills, I think they needed to establish it, because even the guy that's telling Dimitri, like, look at these guys' marks. Like I've dealt with these guys before. Like these guys are hardcore. Like,
but what did he do?
It made me think of like Rambo. Like those Green Berets, they're real badasses. Like. So they established that these mercs are like hardcore, but yet the gang takes them out, like snuffs them out so easily. I was like,
and that's why I said it would have been better if there would have been like as the battles progress, so to speak, like Dimitri's numbers begin to dwindle.
Yeah,
they begin to they lessen, and then but they're still taking chunks out of the mercenaries.
Yeah, they did. It just didn't make sense.
Yeah. And I have to say. One of the parts of what I thought was bad writing was the whole plot with capital A. The guy that tries to have the girls assassinate Dimitri. Like I saw that coming like a mile away. Like I was like, oh, they're gonna try to assassinate him. Like, I don't know. Like I felt like if Quentin Tarantino had wrote that segment, I wouldn't have guessed. Like I wouldn't have been able to predict that they were gonna try to kill him. Like I just thought it wasn't written well. I knew right away as soon as the girls walked in to his master bedroom. Or whatever,
they didn't need that to happen. Like the double cross or whatever you want to call it.
Actually, what would have been cool is that some of the mercenaries got to A and like his gang and get, hey, how would you like to work for us? For the night. Like them so well, and they're taking some of us out. They're like, okay, and then they kind of get employed by that, off the cuff.
By the government.
Yeah, and then they'll probably get betrayed later.
Of course.
See, that would have been more interesting. But it's like I just knew right away, and I was like, yeah, they're working for capital A.
Yeah, and then that'll fuel more fire for Dimitri. Like, fuck, the government, you got to my people.
I can't trust anybody now.
Yeah, like, who do I trust? And he kills a couple of his guys. Nah, I'm joking.
Nah.
Like, do I trust you? No. Nah, I'm joking.
Like Scarface or what?
Yeah,
how'd you like a job?
But I think this movie, I mean, it's not bad. It's not really great either. But I think it's good for what it is. I think it's, the political aspect is still there, of course. You have to have it, especially if you have it in all the other ones. You have to use it here to establish it and the reasons why. But, I mean, I think it's the best movie. Part 2 is up there with this one as well. But I think this one's a better movie because, I admit there's some flaws, but I mean, it's not the best movie, but the things I did like was like I was entertained. There was appropriate things. I was actually like going for some of the characters, like what's gonna happen with him or with him. Like I was invested enough where it wasn't boring, and it wasn't great either, like really great, but it was good. So I think for this movie, I would pretty much give it like a B plus.
Yeah, like
or B minus maybe, but it was good. I recommend for someone to see it if they haven't seen it.
Yeah, like the whole thing with A and his gang, his group, did seem a bit like side quest ish. Where it seemed like they can almost cut out that part of the movie and it really wouldn't have affected anything.
Yeah.
But I agree with what you said, Worm Boy, where like this movie does have its flaws. It's not great, but it didn't really piss me off. There were moments that irked me to no end, but I still enjoyed it. I can almost, dare I say, I almost compare it to like Suicide Squad, where that movie is flawed. That movie has its flaws, but the characters are what really kind of save it.
Yeah, they're good.
Yeah. I mean, not to the extent of Suicide Squad, but yeah.
That's because Will Smith can carry any movie.
Yeah, Will Smith was the best one there.
Even if it's a bad movie.
So what would you grade this movie to?
I would give it like a B minus to a B. Like it's like I said, it's pretty good. I enjoyed it. I was able to forgive most of the flaws thanks mainly to the characters and to some of the plot points involving the characters themselves. Like I actually felt a little bit bad about the scientist. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, like B minus to a B.
We have to mention real quick the scene where Marissa Tomei's character gets killed and it's like security camera footage.
Yeah.
You
it's
never
all
see
cheap.
her face.
Yeah.
But you don't see her face. but it was like, it's like, they couldn't afford Marissa Tomei for another day, for another scene, so they had to get like a body double, like with a bad wig, like kill her in security footage, like, well, that's like I said, like this movie has a very interesting premise, just like all the other Purge movies, which is what intrigues me about them. But and I actually think this one had good writing and had a more interesting take on the Purge concept than the others in the franchise. But it's like I said, there were still a lot of little things that constantly took me out of the movie, and there was some bad writing. So I would give the movie a B minus. Like it's not bad enough to give it a negative grade, but it's like I said, there's a lot of, just like the other Purge movies, there's a lot of missed opportunities.
Yep.
Yeah, and
so
but it is funny the way that Marissa Tomei is like, well, she's off to film the next Spider-Man movie. Yeah.
She has better things to do.
But I recommend this to maybe like the matinee, or maybe like ticket prices during the day. I don't think I would recommend it for like the full price, like on a Friday night or Saturday night.
I would, but I mean,
I would say still see it at the theater.
It's worth it.
Still see it at the theater, but maybe not pay like the Friday night or Saturday night price. I would.
It's for sure. It's dollar movie worthy.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Or Redbox worthy.
Yeah.
Like this is not a terrible movie. There was a lot of good acting in the movie. I thought that Dimitri, the character that
He
played
did good.
the actor,
Yeah, he was really good.
He was good. The actress that played Naya was good.
Isaiah.
I thought Isaiah was good. We already know that the girl from Dexter.
Mm-hmm.
La
we already
Puerta.
know- Yeah, we already know she's a good actress. So
Yeah. No, but I think it's a good movie, and I think you guys should take a look at it. And you know, if you haven't seen any of the Purge series, I do recommend seeing the other ones too. Maybe you can see this one first now and see how that goes.
Watch Election Year as a goof.
Yeah, watch Election Year at the end, like it's meant
as
to
a
be
roast.
at the end.
yeah.
But no, I guess that's our podcast of this movie.
Yeah, our deep thoughts on the first Purge.
And for now, this completes our Purge series because we've now reviewed all the existing Purge movies.
Yeah,
Yep.
but another twist at the end was also the fact that there's gonna be like a 10-part miniseries or something based on the
Okay.
Purge.
Hey, you know what? They might explain the whole weapon thing there.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Or better explain the origins of the Purge,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
which I was expecting in this movie. But
Me too.
Which they
Me too.
kind of did, but not really.
they just kind of glossed over it really fast at the
Mhm.
beginning of the movie with like newsreels and I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Well, we're the Dudes of Horror. I'm Wormboy.
I'm Toots.
And Damien.